Welcome to Wisped Tales, where real-life transformations are told like stories you can step into. Today's journey is Think and Speak in English, from silence to fluency. If you've ever frozen in a meeting, stayed quiet in class, or dodged small talk at the grocery store because the words just wouldn't come, this one's for you. Settle in. Breathe. We're going to build your English, one confident moment at a time. Imagine a quiet apartment in Cleveland. It's 6:12 a.m. Arav sits at the kitchen table, a mug cooling beside a grammar book he's opened a dozen times and finished exactly never. He knows more rules than he can use. He can read articles, understand podcasts, laugh at sitcoms, but when the cashier at Target says, "How's your morning going?" his brain rummages for words and finds silence. If that's you, here's the first truth. Silence isn't failure. Silence is a phase, the moment before sound, the coil before the spring. It means your brain is building maps, collecting patterns, weighing what's safe to say. Our job isn't to fight the silence, it's to shape it, turn it from a wall into a runway. So we redesign Arav's morning, not with 2 hours of study he'll quit by Thursday, with 15 minutes he can keep. Minute 0 to 2, the promise. He whispers one sentence to himself while looking out the window. Today I will speak short and sure. Not perfect, short and sure. Minute 2 to 7, warm input. He plays a 5-minute clip from an American YouTube channel he genuinely enjoys. Tech reviews, food trucks, NFL highlights, anything. The rule is simple. If it bores him, it erases him. Enjoyment wakes attention. Minute 7 to 10, shadowing light. He replays 30 to 40 seconds and mimics the speaker. Not word for word at first, just the music, pauses, stress, the way Gunna slides, how really stretches. He's not chasing vocabulary yet, he's downloading rhythm. Minute 10 to 13, micro output. He speaks into his phone's recorder. Today I will, because. That's it, a 3-line update like a daily voicemail to the future. Minute 13 to 15, the pocket phrase. He chooses one sentence he'll use outside. Could you say that one more time, a little slower? He says it 3 times, smiling, because a smile resets tension. That's the habit. 15 minutes is small enough to survive real life. Late trains, laundry, long days. But done daily, it does something extraordinary. It breaks the cold start. Think of it like warming up a car on a freezing Ohio morning. The engine runs smoother all day.
Now, meet Elena in San Diego, a nursing student who understands everything but hates how she sounds. She thinks confidence comes after perfect English. Here's the second truth. Confidence is a skill, not a prize. You build it by stacking tiny wins where no one can judge you, alone, in the car, on a walk, washing dishes. She starts with mirror minutes. Every evening, she stands in front of the bathroom mirror and narrates boring life in 3 beats. Beat 1, fact. I just finished anatomy homework. Beat 2, feeling. I'm tired but proud. Beat 3, future. Tomorrow, I'll review cardiac terms for 20 minutes. Fact, feeling, future. 3 F rails that carry any thought across the bridge from brain to mouth. Try it now. Whisper yours. Don't correct mid-sentence, finish messy. Fluency isn't clean, it's continuous. Clean comes after. Next, a mindset shift that frees your tongue. Aim for 80% clarity, not 100% correctness. Native speakers break rules all day. Do you want to becomes wanna. I am going to becomes I'm gonna. Even professionals misplace articles and keep moving. The goal in a grocery line or Zoom meeting is to deliver meaning, not impress a textbook. When you chase clarity, your brain stops clutching at rules and starts reaching for ideas. Let's give you a starter kit you can carry into the world today. 1. The 4 golden replies for any conversation stall. Oh, that makes sense. Could you say that another way? Oh, so you're saying blank, right? Oh, give me a second to think. These buy time, show engagement, and return the ball. 2. The 2-lane sentence, simple structure you can flex. Oh, my main point is, we need more time. Oh, because a few details are still unclear. Headline plus because. That alone can carry a meeting. 3. The rescue pack. When a word disappears,
Reduce noise. It's like a charger for cars, a charging station. The opposite of flexible, strict. Another word is deadline, the due date. Finally, we add environment hacks. So English happens to you even when you're tired. Phone language to English, but key apps pinned where muscle memory still works. Sticky note on the fridge. Speak first, edit later. A playlist named Shadow 30. 30 clips that match your taste. Comedy, cooking, sports. Ready to mimic on autopilot. A friend or cousin in the US who agrees to voice note Fridays. 2 minutes. No corrections, just life. When Arav leaves his apartment today, something small is different. The cashier says, "How's your morning going?" He answers with the 2-lane sentence he practiced. "Good. My main point is I need coffee because I slept late." The grammar isn't perfect, the moment is. The cashier laughs. A thread of English stretches between strangers and stays unbroken. Here's the promise of this series. We'll move from silence to fluency step by step. Mindset, rhythm, vocabulary that sticks, pronunciation you don't have to think about, small talk that doesn't sting, meetings you can steer, stories you can tell. You won't memorize English, you'll live it until it feels like walking. Walk with Arav down Euclid Avenue, just before the Cleveland buses fill. He slips in earbuds and lets an American voice spill into his morning. Maybe a tech reviewer from New York joking about battery life. Maybe a chef in Austin talking brisket. He isn't studying the words the way you study for a test. He's letting the rhythm soak in, until English stops sounding like a wall of noise and starts feeling like footsteps on a sidewalk. This is the first secret nobody tells you. Before grammar becomes useful, rhythm becomes possible. If your mouth can catch the beat, your brain will find the words. So he copies not sentences but music. The way gonna softens, how did you melts into didja, the tiny breath speakers take just before the important word. He whispers after them in half voice, not to be perfect, just to stay in time. By the time he reaches the cafe, his tongue has warmed up the way runners warm ankles. When the barista asks, "What can I get started for you?" he rides the rhythm he just practiced. "Medium latte, please. Actually, make it iced." Nothing fancy, short and sure, and the day moves. Elena, finishing a hospital rotation in San Diego, has a different problem. She can read everything and hear everything, but her thoughts arrive at the mouth like a traffic jam. She decides to give herself a lane, one clear pipeline from brain to speech, and she builds it from chunks, not single words. Instead of hunting for vocabulary, like coins at the bottom of a purse, she stores ready-made phrases where her tongue can reach them without permission.
My take is, here's the tricky part. Let me try it this way. Give me a second to think. These are not decorations. They are scaffolds that let the idea climb out. At lunch, when a classmate asks, "So, what did you think of the case this morning?" her brain will not audition adjectives. It will press play on a chunk. My take is, it was complicated because the symptoms didn't match the labs at first. Her teacher hears clarity. Elena feels release. The chunk did the heavy lifting. Here's where the silence begins to change shape. Most learners treat speaking like a test where every sentence must earn an A. But Americans don't talk like exams. They talk like basketball. Quick passes, small fakes, a clean layup. When you stop judging every line and focus on keeping the ball moving, you start saying what you mean in the time you actually have. Arav practices this on his walk home. He describes what he sees in 3 gentle beats. What's here, how he feels, what's next. There's a street musician on the corner. The trumpet sounds warm. I'm going to tip him on the way back. Fact, feeling, future. The grammar is fine, but the flow is what matters. He is teaching his mouth to stay in motion while his mind arranges furniture behind the curtain. Anxiety is the thief of syllables, so we rob it back with ritual. Before hard moments, Elena breathes in for 4 counts, out for 6, twice. On the exhale, she drops a single sentence into the space where panic usually lives. Short and sure. This isn't motivational fluff. It is a speed limit for the mouth. Too fast and the vowels smear. Too slow and fear has time to bloom. Short and sure makes English feel like stepping stones across a creek. You only need the next one. She also treats questions as gifts, not traps. If she doesn't catch one, she buys a second with a friendly bridge. That makes sense. Could you say that another way? Americans hear confidence, not weakness, because clarity is a polite sport here. The conversation breathes and keeps going. Now picture small talk, the place where many learners feel their courage evaporate. In the US, small talk isn't a test of knowledge, it's an offer of comfort. You don't need new ideas every time. You need familiar paths you can walk even when you're tired. At the elevator, "Hey, how's your day going?" Then echo their last word with warmth. If they say busy, you say busy. Same here. At the register, add one friendly detail to your answer so the other person has something to catch. Pretty good. Coffee's helping. In meetings, when you agree, don't just nod. Put a ribbon on it. That works for me. I like the timeline. These micro phrases are not acting. They are social oil that keeps the gears from grinding. Practice them out loud while you wash dishes or fold laundry until your mouth knows where they live. When real life asks for them, they'll jump to your tongue like muscle memory. The grammar still matters, but you will polish it after you speak, not instead of speaking. That's why Elena keeps a tiny catch jar in her notes app. After a conversation, she writes one line she wishes she'd said better. At clinic, I said the patient have. Next time, the patient has. No shame, no essay, just one upgrade. Tomorrow, she'll drop it into a sentence during her walk. The patient has a fever. She's doing what athletes do with video replay. Review, adjust, back on the court. Over weeks, the jar becomes a quiet ladder. Every rung is a habit installed. The miracle isn't magic, it's compounding.
Reduce noise. Pronunciation gets friendlier when you stop fighting every sound and aim for targets your mouth can hit under pressure. English, loves stressed syllables. Hit those, and the rest can blur a little without breaking meaning. Say conversation with the weight on ve and tation. Let the small vowels be small. Reduce the ones that native speakers reduce, and suddenly you sound clear even if you're not careful. Want to can become wanna when you're relaxed. Did you can shrink to didja. These reductions aren't laziness, they're rhythm markers that tell the listener's brain where the beats fall. Arav practices with 15 seconds of shadowing, mimicking the melody more than the alphabet, until his jaw and tongue stop arguing with each other. Then he makes the clip his own. He retells the same idea with his words, keeping the beat. The point is not imitation, the point is transfer. Finally, make English ambient. Set your phone to English so micro-choices train your eyes all day. Keep a low-stakes voice memo thread with a friend or cousin in the States. 2 minutes every Friday, no corrections, just life. Narrate the boring parts of your commute under your breath. When you don't know a word, go around it quickly. The thing that powers the car, the charging station, and keep the river moving. Fluency feels less like a parade and more like a sidewalk, steady, ordinary, always there when you need it. The silence that once felt like a locked door starts behaving like a pause button you control. You press it when you choose, you press play when you're ready, and the sound that returns is you, carrying meaning across the room without apologizing for how it travels. Arav sits on a lakefront bench in Cleveland with a spiral notebook and the kind of determination that makes people buy gym memberships in January. He has written a dozen new English words on a page: overwhelmed, deadline, awkward, schedule, flexible, clarify, approve, replace, refund, appointment, reschedule, follow up. And he's ready to memorize them the way students memorize dates. But memory without usage is like buying a treadmill and hanging laundry on it. So we change the game. Instead of collecting single words like stamps, Arav begins to collect moments where those words naturally live. He builds a tiny conversation in his head, an email at work that needs approval, a phone call to reschedule an appointment, a chat at the returns desk asking for a refund. He doesn't repeat approve 15 times like a spell. He plays through the scene where approval matters and lets the word snap into place like a tool in a belt. Each word gets a home, a real-life corner where it belongs. When the situation arrives in the wild, the word finds him, not the other way around. Elena learns the same lesson during a late shift in San Diego. A patient is confused about instructions. The attending says, "Let's clarify this together," and Elena feels the word click because it arrived attached to a purpose. After her shift, she opens a notes app, not to copy definitions, but to write one sentence of history for each new word: where it happened, who said it, what problem it solved. Clarify. Dr. Patel used it when we rewrote discharge steps so the patient could follow them. Words anchored to stories become wires. You don't yank them out later, they carry current. By the time she gets home, Clarify has already traveled from page to tongue, ready to light up again tomorrow. Vocabulary grows faster when you plant it in families. Arav takes approve and adopts its cousins: approval, approved, approving, disapprove. He doesn't memorize a chart, he tells a small American office story in the present: a manager approving a budget, an email waiting for approval, a colleague who disapproves of a risky plan. The morphology becomes scenery.
The grammar sneaks in through the side door while the plot walks through the front. Later, he does the same with schedule. Scheduled, scheduling, reschedule, behind schedule. Each one a shift in a short story about a meeting that keeps moving like a cat that won't come inside. When families travel together, you stop feeling like a tourist asking for directions. You feel like a neighbor who knows the block. Collocations, the word pairs English leans on without thinking, turn good vocabulary into native-like flow. Elena notices how her preceptor says, make an appointment, not do an appointment, and meet a deadline, not reach a deadline. She starts a quiet game. Whenever she hears a phrase that sounds right, she repeats it under her breath with her situation swapped in. Make an appointment becomes make an appointment with radiology, then make an appointment for mom's dentist, then make an appointment for Saturday morning. The mouth learns the groove. Later, tired and busy, she won't have to build the sentence from sticks. She'll pull the phrase off a well-worn shelf and toss it across the counter to the person who needs it. There is a temptation to hunt big, fancy words because they feel like progress. Fluency, though, is mostly friction removed, not fireworks added. So Arav chooses awkward instead of incongruous, fix instead of ameliorate, helpful instead of beneficial, and watches doors open. Plain English is not simple. It is sharp. In an American meeting, short words cut cleaner because everyone recognizes them at speed. Later, when he needs weight, he can always reach higher. But day to day, the lane with fewer cones will get him home faster. Pronunciation piggybacks on vocabulary when you learn words as music, not mosaics of letters. Elena adopts a tiny ritual. Whenever a new word enters her notebook, she circles the stressed syllable and whispers the word the way a song hits its chorus. Appointment, reschedule, follow up, replace. She exaggerates the big beats and lets the small vowels relax. In real conversations, stress carries meaning even when the rest blurs a little. Hitting the beat is like stepping on the stones that won't wobble as you cross the creek. The mouth, grateful for landmarks, stops tripping. To keep vocabulary from evaporating, we trade cramming for return trips that are short and real. Arav sets a quiet schedule that fits American life. The words he met today show up again tonight as a 2-sentence text to himself. They return in 2 days as a voice note where he retells a tiny scene. They visit again in a week inside an email draft he never sends, just to rehearse the shape. And they get one more hello in a month when he catches himself using them without trying. Nothing heroic, everything repeatable. The brain loves spaced effort, the way muscles love rest between sets. Growth happens in the pauses you respect. We also teach the mouth what to do when a word runs away. Elena refuses to give silence the last word. She leans on workarounds that keep the river moving. If charger hides, she says, the thing that powers the phone. If refund vanishes, she says, I'd like my money back, please. If reschedule slips, she says, can we change the time? Each paraphrase buys seconds, and seconds buy calm, and calm unlocks the original word hiding just behind the curtain. Listeners in the U.S. don't grade you for detours. They appreciate the map they can follow.
A final shift turns vocabulary from decoration into instrument. We make it social. Arav chooses 3 words for the week and promises to use each of them once with a real person, at the returns desk, on the phone with a clinic, in a short chat at work. The moment arrives, he feels the old freeze, and he uses the word anyway, gently and clearly without apology. Every successful landing stamps a groove into the nervous system.
This word is safe in the wild. Elena does a quieter version. She slips the week's words into a voice note she sends her cousin in New Jersey on Fridays. There is no teacher, no red pen, just proof that these sounds leave her mouth, travel through a wire, and arrive warm on someone else's day. That movement, inside to outside to someone's ear, is the whole purpose of vocabulary. Not to sit in rows, but to circulate. By the end of this chapter, Arev's page of words has become a map of scenes, each with a stain of real life on it. A clerk named James who approved a return without fuss. A receptionist who said, "Let's reschedule for Thursday." A manager who wrote, "Looks good, approved," above a deadline that used to scare him. Elena's notes look messier and friendlier, little arrows, one-line histories, stress marks like accents in a song. Neither of them feels like a student hoarding words. They feel like people whose English now contains tools they can reach for with wet hands and a ticking clock. Think of your mouth as an instrument you carry everywhere. No case, no cables, just muscle, breath, timing. English won't sound like English until that instrument learns two big truths. It's a stress-timed language, and clarity lives in contrasts, not perfect sounds. Stress-timed means some beats are strong and some are soft, and the strong ones do most of the meaning work. So when Arev walks along Lake Erie at dusk, he doesn't try to pronounce every syllable like a piano student hitting every key the same. He leans on the beats. I want to reschedule the appointment. The bold syllables land like footsteps, the rest follow lightly. Suddenly, his English stops feeling heavy and starts moving like a song you can hum. Elena learns that contrast, not perfection, is what American ears depend on. A small difference in vowel length or voice can flip a word from ship to sheep, bet to bat. But she doesn't drill tongue twisters until her jaw aches. She runs minimal pair sprints that feel like real life. For 60 seconds, she whispers ship, sheep, ship, sheep, tapping her finger harder on the stress syllable so her body remembers where to place the energy. Then she builds them into tiny scenes. I took the ship at dawn. I saw sheep at dawn. Context anchors sound, sound anchors confidence. When the cashier asks, paper or plastic, she answers with a clean short "a" in bag, because she practiced that vowel inside a story about lunch, not a sterile list. Breath is the hidden engine. English consonants P, T, K, like a little burst of air. B, D, G, like a gentler release. On a quiet morning, Arev holds a sticky note in front of his lips and says paper, paper, paper. The paper should flicker. Then baker, baker, baker. Less flicker. He isn't chasing a perfect accent, he's calibrating air so words don't blur when nerves visit. Later, on a phone call to reschedule a dentist visit, that tiny practice keeps Tuesday from melting into Tuesday and Thursday from swallowing its R.
Reduce noise. Connected speech, the way sounds link and shrink when Americans actually talk, used to scare Elena. Now she treats it like choreography. She practices linking vowels to vowels with a soft Y glide, do it, go on, so the words don't crash. She lets function words relax. I'm gonna head out. Did you slides to didja. Want to becomes wanna when the moment is casual. She won't drag these into an interview, but in hallways and grocery lines, reductions make her sound natural and keep her breathing steady. When she needs to switch to formal, she simply slows by 10% and opens the vowels. Same person, different room. R's and L's, th's and vowels. Every learner has a villain. Arev chooses one at a time. For th, he refuses to overthink. He puts the tip of his tongue lightly between his teeth, leaks air, and speaks through the sound, not at it. Think, this, thank you. He records 15 seconds, listens once, fixes one line, records again, and moves on. Progress is measured in tomorrows, not in beating himself up tonight. For the American R,
Elena stops curling her tongue like a pretzel and instead rounds her lips a bit and pulls the tongue back. Right. Very. Car. She pairs the sound with emotion. Smiling slightly on very brings the vowel forward and keeps it warm. Emotion shapes sound more gently than instructions do. Intonation carries attitude. Americans often lift slightly at the key word and land with a gentle drop at the end of a statement. Questions either rise cleanly or dip if they're rhetorical. Elena practices with a single sentence. I do think we should wait. She says it 3 ways: neutral, friendly, firm, changing only the melody. By the time her study group debates a due date, she can say, I do think Friday works, in a way that invites agreement instead of argument. Melody is not decoration. It's social control, the difference between sounding unsure and sounding open. Because real conversations don't pause for repairs, both of them install micro-recovery moves. If a word sticks, Arav buys a second with, give me a sec, and slides around it. The thing that charges the car. If he trips mid-sentence, he doesn't apologize or restart from zero. He clips the broken branch. I went to the store and keeps walking. These tiny saves teach his nervous system that mistakes aren't cliffs, they're speed bumps. Practice has to fit a US day. So the drills hide in plain sight. While waiting at a crosswalk in Cleveland, Arav shadows one sentence from a podcast under his breath, matching the timing more than the words. In a San Diego elevator, Elena reads the poster aloud in a low voice, hitting stress on content words. Staff meeting Friday at 10. Then says it like a person would. Staff meetings Friday at 10. In the car, both run call and response with the radio. The host says, that's interesting. They echo, that's interesting. Clipping the rest, keeping the beat. Small, repeatable, survivable. That's how muscles learn. Finally, they build a 2-minute pre-flight for moments that matter. Before a patient update or a tricky phone call, Elena breathes 4 in, 6 out, twice, whispers her speed limit, short and sure, then runs a personal warm line 3 times. Morning, quick update on 2 points and I'll keep it tight. Arav, before a meeting, taps the table with his finger in the pattern he wants his speech to follow. Da da da, da da da, and starts with a headline. Main point. I'll need 1 extra day, because the vendor hasn't confirmed. They're not showing off, they're stabilizing the instrument, so meaning arrives without wobble. By the end of this stretch, neither of them sounds perfect. They sound predictable, in the best way. Stressed syllables land, vowels don't panic, links connect, and when life throws a pebble, their voices step over it without drama. In American rooms, that's what listeners reward. Speech that carries meaning at real speed, with small human edges intact. The instrument isn't expensive or exotic.
It's the one they were born with, finely tuned to the music of the place they live. Conversations don't begin as essays. They begin as openings, thin doors you learn to push without force. In Cleveland, Arav steps into the elevator at work and finds himself beside his project lead. The old Arav would have smiled, stared at the numbers, and let silence swallow the floor count. The new Arav remembers that in the US, small talk isn't a test of cleverness, it's a quick kindness. So he offers a light, truthful opening that has a hook. Morning. Traffic on Carnegie was a surprise today. He isn't fishing for sympathy, he's offering a thread. His lead answers, tell me about it. Construction never ends. Arav echoes the key word with warmth. Construction, right? And adds a small detail. They've got 1 lane blocked near the clinic. The exchange lasts 12 seconds. No jokes, no performance, just a human handshake. And here's the secret. A dozen handshakes like that make the longer talks easier because your voice already lives in the room. Elena practices another American habit that protects shy speakers. Headlines first, details on demand. At the nurse's station, when the attending asks how a patient is doing, she doesn't spill everything she knows. She lifts a clean headline and waits. He's stable. 2 small changes overnight. The attending nods. What changed? Now Elena unpacks 2 short points, each with a why. Headline, then pockets. This format buys her time, lets the listener steer, and makes her English feel decisive even when she's choosing words. It also rescues her when her mind blanks. If all else fails, she repeats the headline and adds one reason. Americans are trained by news, emails, and meetings to listen for headlines. When you give them one, your message rides on a familiar rail. The hardest leap for many learners is moving from harmless small talk to useful talk, asking for what you actually need without sounding abrupt. Arav learns a soft bridge that Americans respect. A quick appreciation, the ask, and the because. Hey, appreciate your time. Could we push the deadline to Friday because the vendor hasn't confirmed the specs? Polite, clear, and grounded. He doesn't stack apologies like sandbags. One appreciate is enough. If the answer is no, he has a second move ready. Understood. What's the most important part to finish by Thursday? A refusal becomes a plan. Fluency isn't getting a yes every time. It's staying useful when you get a no. Phone calls, the terror of many, get easier when you treat them like a hallway with 3 doors. Who you are, what you need, what you're doing next. Elena sits in her car outside a clinic, breathes out, and hits call. Hi, this is Elena Garcia. I'm calling to reschedule my appointment. I can do Thursday afternoon or Friday morning. What works? If the receptionist asks a question she misses, she buys 5 seconds gracefully. That makes sense. Could you say that another way? No shame, just clarity. If she needs to spell her email, she uses the American alphabet rhythm native speakers expect. Letters in short taps, pausing naturally after the at and then the dot. When the call ends, she repeats the plan in one line. Great, so Friday at 9:30, I'll bring my ID. So the agreement lives in both heads. These tiny closures prevent big headaches. In American social rooms, office kitchens, barbecues, PTA lines, the safest path from hi to we actually talked is same, ask, add. You land on a small shared thing. Ask a light follow-up. Then contribute one detail of your own. At a company picnic, a colleague says, "We tried the veggie tacos." Elena. Same. Surprisingly good. Did you try the salsa? The colleague laughs. Too spicy. Elena adds, I liked it, but only 1 spoon. It's not a script, it's a rhythm that keeps pressure off.
Reduce noise. If the thread dies, you let it die. You don't earn points for saving every talk. You earn energy for the ones that matter. When conversations turn practical, returns, refunds, repairs, the goal is not perfect grammar. It's a clean path the other person can follow. Arav walks to the returns counter at Target with a blender that rattles. He smiles, places the box gently, and lays out a calm sequence. Hi, this blender shakes a lot when it runs. I'd like to replace it or get a refund if replacements aren't available. He adds 1 sentence of proof, not a monologue. I tried it twice and recorded the noise. The associate knows exactly which button to press because Arav gave choices and a reason. If the policy blocks him, he stays steady. Got it. What can we do instead? The question transfers the problem to a solution space without heat. That tone, not vocabulary, wins the day.
Networking and introductions used to make Elena shrink. Now she treats them like two-liners with a handle. At a community health event, she says, "I'm Elena, nursing student at SDSU, focused on cardiology. I'm looking for shadowing hours this fall." Name, where, focus, ask. Short and sure. If the person shares their role, Elena flips the spotlight back for 30 seconds, then parks the connection. "That's helpful. Could I send you a quick email?" Americans respect direct asks that save time. She writes the email that night because momentum is oxygen. Waiting kills otherwise good conversations. Group discussions can swallow quiet voices, so Arav learns to enter the circle with a phrase that signals contribution without a fight. He leans forward slightly and lands a soft flag. Quick thought: if we push the push notifications by a day, we'll avoid the Tuesday deploy. Quick thought buys him the floor for one clear sentence. He watches heads. If two people lean in, he adds one more sentence, then he yields. Open to other ideas. Yielding is power. It shows you came to solve, not to perform. Later, when he disagrees, he uses the American sandwich that keeps teams human. "I like the direction. One concern: load times might jump. If we compress images first, I'm in." Agreement, concern, path. No drama, still honest. What about the moments that go sideways? A joke that lands weird, a word that comes out wrong, a blank mid-story. Elena installs a reset line she can say with a half smile. "Let me say that better." She restarts the sentence, slower, and moves on. People don't remember the stumble. They remember your calm. If the room mishears her name, she corrects kindly and exactly how Americans need it. It's Elena. E-le-na. She doesn't apologize for existing. She offers a usable map. Later, when someone says it right, she thanks them once and never mentions it again. Respect earned, battery saved. The last shift is spiritual, not grammatical. Treat conversations like shared chores, not performances. When you enter a talk with the job of making meaning easy for both sides, your words choose you. You'll find yourself saying, "My main point is," "because," "so next step," and you'll hear relief in the other person's voice. Arav notices it at work. Loaders move faster, approvals arrive quicker, meetings end on time. Elena feels it in the clinic. Instructions stick, families calm down, colleagues trust her updates. Fluency begins to feel like a public service. You clear fog so people can keep living their day. By the time the week ends, neither of them has delivered a TED Talk.
They've done something better. Turned dozens of tiny American moments, elevators, counters, phones, doorways, into places their voices show up early, leave clearly, and take only the space needed. Their English isn't louder. It's useful. And when language becomes useful, your mouth stops asking for permission. English in the wild isn't the careful voice of an audiobook. It's a river. It bends around slang, splashes over jokes, drops stones like kinda, sorta, you know, and runs faster when people are late, hungry, or excited. Arav learns this on a windy morning in Cleveland, when the bus driver calls out stops like a drum roll, and two teenagers in the back swap stories at warp speed. At first, it feels hopeless, like trying to read a billboard from a moving car. Then he changes the goal. He stops hunting every word and starts catching the shape, the stressed beats that carry meaning. "I can't tonight. Work ran late," one teen says, and even with the rest blurred, the headline lands. Arav repeats the beats under his breath, almost like humming a bass line. The details can wait. The message is already his. Elena practices this shift in San Diego hallways where doctors, nurses, and family members speak 3 different versions of English. She trains her ear to ignore filler and lock onto the signal. When someone says, the thing is he's been dizzy since yesterday, she hears 3 lights turning on: thing, dizzy, yesterday, and builds the sense from there. If a sentence jets past her at freeway speed, she doesn't tense and chase. She gently breaks the conversation with a friendly bridge. That makes sense. Say that another way for me. Most Americans will repeat with fewer decorations, because clarity is a kind of hospitality here. The request doesn't reveal weakness. It shows you're doing the shared chore of understanding together. Accents used to make Ara freeze. The Alabama drawl in a customer's voice, the clipped Boston R, the gentle roll from a Colombian cashier, the soft lilt of a Filipino nurse. Now he treats accents like songs. For a week, he listens to a YouTube creator from Georgia while he cooks. Another week, he follows a Chicago sports podcast. Another week, an Indian-American comedian who lives in New Jersey. He doesn't try to mirror them. He lets his ears collect patterns so surprises feel familiar later. When the Colombian cashier asks, "Do you want a bag or you okay?" the bag vowel wanders a little, but the melody tells him everything. His body stops flinching because his brain has been fed variety on purpose. There's also a trick that liberates listening. Expect to miss some of what you hear and plan your recovery in advance. Elena carries 2 rescue lines that slip out with a smile. If she catches the words but not the meaning, she says, "Got the words. What do you mean exactly?" If she catches the meaning but not the words, she says, "I get the idea. Can you repeat the last part?" Both keep the talk moving without that heavy pause where embarrassment grows teeth. In meetings, she gives herself permission to ask 1 clarifying question per topic and no one rolls their eyes. Instead, people lean in because a clean question saves everyone time. A surprising ally in listening is prediction. On the train, Arav watches a couple plan dinner. The conversation obeys gravity. After "I'm starving" comes "What sounds good?" After "Pasta" comes "We had it yesterday." After "Okay, tacos" comes "Do we have tortillas?" English follows familiar rails. In the clinic, Elena hears "We need to follow up," and her brain already lays out possible endings. With cardiology, in 2 weeks, about the lab.
Reduce noise. Prediction shrinks the gap between sound and sense. It's not fortune-telling, it's pattern recognition that frees attention to handle the unexpected piece. Speed is the enemy until it becomes the teacher. Araz steals time from shores to run 1-minute storms. He plays a 60-second clip at normal speed, catches the gist, then plays it once at 0.75x to hear the links and reductions, and once more at normal speed again. The first pass is the river, the second is the rocks, the third is confidence. He doesn't write anything down. He lets comprehension be a feeling, that warm click when the picture forms. Over weeks, 1.0x starts to feel like 0.9x. It's not magic, it's familiarity training, done in spoonfuls he can keep. Jokes, idioms, and cultural shortcuts used to throw Elena off the bridge. Now she lets them land the way you let a ball bounce once before you catch it. Someone at the nurse's station says, "Open and shut case," and instead of stopping the river to look it up, she uses context,
The whole team is nodding, the labs were clear, the treatment worked, to tag it, easy case. Later, on a break, she checks quickly and files it with cousins. No-brainer, a slam dunk, piece of cake. She doesn't chase every idiom in the moment. She scoops them in batches when life is quiet. And the next time a coworker says slam dunk, her ear smiles because a once sharp edge is now smooth. Listening also improves when you give yourself stakes that are small but real. Arav turns errands into games he can win. At the pharmacy, he aims to catch the instruction and the timeline in one go. Take with food twice a day. At the coffee shop, he focuses on the follow-up question the barista always asks after the order. Name? Or anything else? Patterns become predictable. Predictable becomes peaceful. Elena does the same at shift change. She listens for the headline and the exception in each handoff. Stable overall, watch for dizziness. Once your ear knows the prize it's hunting, the crowd noise fades. Some days will still be messy. You will nod and realize 10 seconds later that you missed the engine of the sentence. That's when the simplest sentence in English becomes your friend. Say that again, please. You don't need to apologize, explain, or tell your language life story. You ask, they repeat, you thank them, and the world keeps turning. The goal isn't to become a human tape recorder. It's to become a steady partner in the shared work of meaning. Most Americans, busy as they are, respect steadiness more than speed. By the end of this chapter, the soundscape that once felt like rain on glass starts to separate into shapes you can draw with your finger. You won't catch every drop, and you won't need to. Arav leaves the bus understanding enough to answer a question without panic. Elena finishes a rapid hallway consult and nails the plan because she heard the headline, the exception, and the date. Fluency doesn't begin when you understand everything. It begins when you understand enough, stay calm about the rest, and know exactly how to get the missing piece without breaking the moment. Translation is a polite guest at the start of your journey, but it becomes a thief if it never leaves. Arav learned this the hard way on a rainy Cleveland afternoon when his manager asked for a quick update, and he tried to route every thought through his first language before letting it touch his mouth. By the time the sentence arrived, the moment had moved on. The fix wasn't more vocabulary, it was changing where the sentence is born.
He began growing thoughts directly in English. Small ones at first, like seeds you sprout on a windowsill. Walking past the stadium, he'd whisper, "Looks packed, game night," or "Clouds are heavy, bring an umbrella." No translation, no perfection, just tiny English sparks shaped by whatever his eyes were seeing. After a week, those sparks stitched together into longer lines. Main point, I'll head out early because the weather's turning. The habit felt clumsy for 3 days, then strangely natural, like switching the phone's keyboard to the right layout and never looking back. Elena in San Diego used to translate emotions, which made them arrive late and flat. So she gave English the first draft of her feelings before Spanish could volunteer. During clinicals, she would label the moment in 3 quick breaths. Curious, a little nervous, ready. The words were simple on purpose. Simple travels faster than perfect. When a doctor asked for her impression, her brain didn't have to dig. It already had English handles on the feeling. I'm curious about the dizziness, ready to check hydration. Thinking in English didn't mean erasing Spanish. It meant choosing which language carried the front line of the job. After shifts, she could pour her heart out in Spanish to family. During the shift, English kept the room moving.
The translation trap tightens hardest around tenses. Learners try to match grammar map to grammar map and get lost at the border. Arav escaped by shrinking time to 3 clean rails. Then, now, next. Then got a simple past and a timestamp. Yesterday, I called. Now got present with a status word. I'm waiting. Next got a clear future with a marker. Tomorrow, I'll send it. When pressure rose, he ran the rails aloud. Called yesterday, waiting now, sending tomorrow. The meaning landed, and the tense police, who mostly live in your head, went home early. Later, when calm returned, he could decorate. I'd already called. I've been waiting. I'll have sent it. But the rails got the meeting through the tunnel on time. To keep his mind from flipping back to translation under stress, Arav gave it templates that think for him. Requests began life as, appreciate your help, could we, because. Status checks hatched as, quick update, main point is, next step is. Pushback grew from, I like the direction, concern is, if we, I'm in. Each template was a mental mold. Pour in today's details, and English came out shaped and ready. The more he used them, the less he translated, because there was nothing left to translate. He wasn't searching for words, he was selecting them. Elena tackled the translation urge inside storytelling, where it hides best. In Spanish, she loved color and curve. In English, she kept tripping over the curve and losing the color. So she drew a plain skeleton first. Who? Problem. Action. Result. And then let one detail breathe. Mr. Ruiz, dizziness, we checked hydration. He walked to the door steady. After the bones stood, she added a single image. He smiled when the room stopped spinning. The image made the story human. The skeleton kept it moving. Because the plan lived in English from the start, her mouth didn't need permission. It needed air. Both of them made peace with a counterintuitive fact. Thinking in English starts with smaller English. Simple words, short verbs, clear order. The ego hates it. The ear loves it. Let's start now beats, let us initiate the process forthwith, every day in Ohio, Texas, or California. Once your internal voice is fluent in clean lines, you can climb as high as you want. Until then, high words push you back toward translation because they take too long to fetch. Clarity is the on-ramp. Elegance is the highway you reach after you're moving.
They also taught their brains to label the room in English before the room started asking for things. Arav would step into meetings and tag the scene under his breath: budget, timeline, blockers. Elena entered a patient room and tagged pain level, meds, discharge. Labels became magnets. When talk began, English facts clicked to the right magnet without a detour through another language. On tough days, they gave themselves a gentle rule. The first sentence of any reply must be born in English. After that, do what you must. In practice, the second sentence was English too. Momentum is stubborn once it starts. There were slip-ups. A complicated idea arrived with the old two-step accent of translation. A joke took too long to rebuild. A tense tangled. Instead of scolding themselves, they ran a reset line that belonged to English. Let me say that more simply. Then they did. That mercy kept English safe in their heads. Shame makes the mind reach for the older language because it feels like home. The point wasn't to outlaw translation forever. It was to uninstall it as the default. By month's end, the difference wasn't theatrical. It was quiet
and everywhere. Arav's emails read like he spoke them. Elena's updates sounded like her thoughts, not like a dictionary wearing a lab coat. When strangers asked quick questions in the grocery aisle, answers came out with the calm of someone who lives in the language they're using. That's the milestone most tests can't measure. When English stops feeling like a performance and starts feeling like a place in your head where you cook, plan, joke, and decide, without knocking on the door first. Grammar becomes your ally the moment it starts carrying meaning instead of controlling you, so we teach it to do its job while your life is happening. Arav used to treat grammar like a museum. Quiet rooms, long explanations, signs that say, "Do not touch." Now he treats it like a tool belt he wears to meetings, errands, and phone calls. He keeps 3 rails in view: then, now, next, and lets almost everything ride those tracks. Then is a clean past with a time tag: I emailed yesterday. Now is present with a status tag: I'm waiting for a reply. Next is future with a pointer: I'll follow up tomorrow. When pressure is high, this simple timeline tells the listener exactly where the story lives without tripping over perfect tenses. Later, when there's air, he upgrades the sentence like a software patch. I've emailed already. I've been waiting. I'll have it ready. But only after the meaning is safe. Elena does the same in the clinic. She frames updates with grammar that behaves. He improved overnight. He's stable now. We'll reassess at noon. The attending hears a movie in 3 frames, not a grammar lesson. Articles and prepositions, those tiny gremlins, stop stealing her confidence because she installs defaults that work at real speed. At for time, on for days, in for months. At the clinic, on Friday, in July. If she's unsure, she stays with the shorter option Americans forgive first. I'm at work. See you on Friday. Meet in the lobby. Perfection can visit later. Clarity has rent due now. Negatives and questions learn to move like Americans move. You don't need that. Do you have a minute? Light, front-loaded, quick. When Arav has to ask for change, he doesn't build a cathedral, he uses a sturdy frame. Appreciation plus ask plus because. Appreciate the help. Could we push to Friday because the vendor slipped? If the answer is no, his grammar doesn't panic. He pivots with another frame. Understood plus narrow the target. Understood.
What's the must-have by Thursday? Conditional grammar, the scary if family, gets domesticated with small, true sentences. If it rains, I'll drive. If he's late, we start. When the stakes rise, Elena keeps the condition in front and the promise after, like a steady heartbeat. If the fever stays high, we'll call the doctor. Reported speech becomes a calm echo instead of a trap. He said the part ships Monday. They told me check-in is at 3. No tense gymnastics, just a faithful relay. Even the famous ED endings stop biting. Arav knows native speakers drop sounds when speed takes over, so he shows the past with a time word if the consonant goes quiet. I sent it yesterday. And if T swallows itself in fast speech, yesterday keeps the message honest. The deeper shift is taste. Grammar serves the moment, not the mirror. After a conversation, Elena jots one clean correction in a catch jar. Next time, the patient has, not have, and uses it once the next day. That's it. No guilt, just an upgrade. Over weeks, these one-liners compound into calm. By now, their English doesn't feel like a school subject. It feels like a road with good signs. Sentences enter on-ramps that say, then, now, next. Turn left at because, merge under so, and exit at next step.
Listeners in Cleveland and San Diego don't clap for perfect clauses. They reward clean travel. Where are we? Why it matters? What happens next? When grammar learns to drive like that, your ideas arrive without sirens. Fluency isn't a crush, it's a routine. The difference between people who worked on their English for years and people who quietly become the one coworkers ask to present is not talent. It's a system that survives noisy days. Arav learned this the week his project sprint exploded and his calendar looked like confetti. Old him would have sworn to study extra this weekend, and then crashed. New him decided to make English commute-sized, small enough to fit in the cracks of a Cleveland morning. He chose 3 anchors and tied English to them so tightly that forgetting would feel stranger than doing them. The first anchor was coffee. While the kettle whispered, he played a 1-minute clip he liked, shadowed one sentence for rhythm, and retold it in his words. The second anchor was shoes. As he laced up, he whispered a headline about his day, main point, because, next step, and hit record for a 30-second voice note to himself. The third anchor was doors. Every time he touched a new door at work, he repeated one ready phrase he wanted automatic this week. Quick thought. Appreciate the heads up. Let me put that another way. So the phrase lived at the front of his tongue when he needed it. Nothing heroic happened. What happened was daily. Elena built a different machine in San Diego because hospital shifts eat promises for breakfast. Her rule became before shift, between rooms, before bed. Before shift meant 5 calm breaths in the parking lot and a 2-line plan in English spoken aloud. Today I'll keep updates short and sure. If I miss a word, I'll buy a second and go around it. Between rooms meant she labeled the next task in English before touching the door. Pain level, meds, discharge, which made her handoffs clearer without extra time. Before bed meant a single line in a catch jar on her phone. One sentence she wished she'd said better, with the fix right after it. No grammar marathons, no guilt museum, just one upgrade adopted tomorrow. The jar filled slowly with small permanent wins. Has instead of have. On Friday, not in Friday. We'll reassess at noon instead of we reassess noon. The miracle was not speed, it was compounding. Both of them stopped relying on motivation and started designing friction. Arav moved the English he needed to where his eyes already go.
His phone home screen was English by default, and he pinned his Shadow 30 playlist to the first row so his thumb didn't have to hunt. He put a sticky note at his desk that read, headline, because, next, so every update in a meeting fell into a groove. He placed a small notebook by the couch and forbade himself from opening it unless he wrote just 2 lines. The trick was honesty. If the notebook demanded novels, it would stay closed. Elena attacked the environment too. She set her keyboard to English and kept it there, trained autocorrect to her voice, and hid the dictionary app one screen away to stop reflex lookups. She asked a classmate for a Friday voice note swap, 2 minutes each, 0 corrections, just life, which turned practice into an expected ping that showed up alongside bills and memes. English stopped being a task and became part of the furniture. On days when energy crashed, they used a minimum dose rule. Success counted if it took 2 minutes. Arav's minimum dose was a single sentence whispered while microwaving leftovers, said twice, first as it came, second a little cleaner. Elena's was to read a sign in the hallway aloud and then say it how a person would. Staff meeting Friday at 10 became staff meetings Friday at 10. Those were small enough to do when patience was gone and big enough to keep the wire warm. The point wasn't progress you could brag about, it was no 0 days.
Missing happens. Streaks are cute until they break. They planned for breaks by writing a restart line at the top of a note. Back today, one sentence and done. That line forgave them before they asked. Forgiveness kept them consistent. Memory became friendlier when they switched from cramming to retrieval. Arav realized reading vocabulary lists felt productive, but didn't teach his mouth to fetch words on command. So he flipped the direction. On Tuesdays, he would force his brain to recall 3 words from last week by telling a tiny story aloud without looking. I tried to reschedule the dentist. They didn't prove Friday. We followed up and got Monday. The effort of pulling words up, not just seeing them again, did the wiring. Elena took the same medicine in the clinic. After a long shift, she would stand at her kitchen counter, set a 90-second timer, and summarize one case without notes. Who, problem, action, result. Then add one humane detail. She didn't aim for pretty, she aimed for uninterrupted. The timer ended before she got tired of herself. That made tomorrow not scary. They each appointed an accountability partner who didn't correct them, only checked the lights. Arav's cousin in New Jersey agreed to ping him every Wednesday. Voice note? If it didn't arrive, the cousin sent a single emoji, timer, and that was enough. Elena asked her sister to text headline twice a week. Elena replied with one sentence about her day. The rule was speed over pride. If you're trying to improve English inside real life, pride is a luxury you can't afford on weekdays. The body needs easy wins. The ego can present on Saturday. Slip-ups tried to drag them into perfectionism, so they wrote a tiny operating system for bad days. If they froze in a meeting, the recovery was scripted. Let me say that more simply. Then headline because next. If someone didn't understand, the move was kind and quick. Got the words, what do you mean exactly? If a call felt messy, the repair happened at the end. So I'm set for Friday at 9:30 and I'll bring ID, right? This OS didn't make them eloquent, it made them reliable.
Reliability is what coworkers and receptionists and baristas actually reward, because it saves everyone time. Most importantly, they stopped waiting to feel ready and started shipping tiny moments. Arav volunteered to read the first agenda item in a stand-up and nothing else. After a week, his voice sounded like it belonged in the room. Elena offered to open the team huddle with a 30-second status, then yielded. The trick was to choose roles that were small by design and repeat them until they felt light. Repetition does to fear what sunlight does to fog. By the end of this chapter, their days held the same chaos as before, traffic and deadlines and texts that arrive at the worst time, but English no longer needed an appointment. It rode the kettle, the shoes, the doors, the parking lot breath, the catch jar, the 2-minute minimum, the Wednesday ping. It showed up not because they forced it, but because they built rails and let the train run. And when life gets louder, rails matter more than ever. Rooms have weather. Some are bright and friendly, like a kitchen in Phoenix at 10 a.m. Others feel like January in Boston. Dry air, fluorescent lights, faces that expect something from you. The trick to speaking English in those rooms isn't bigger vocabulary, it's better choreography. What your body does, what your mouth does, and what your message does, in that order. Arav learns this the morning he has to present a 3-minute update to his team in Cleveland. He writes a whole page the night before, and then throws most of it away. He keeps only a headline, 2 stones, and a bridge. 1 clear sentence that names the main point, 2 proof points he could say half asleep, and a final line that hands the room a next step. On the commute, he repeats the skeleton out loud until it fits his breath.
In the conference room, his palms warm, his heart drums, but he starts with the headline before his nerves can negotiate. Main point. Timelines tight but on track. Eyes lift, the room leans in. He places stone 1, stone 2, and crosses the bridge. So next step, vendor check-in at 2, then I'll share the brief. No flourish, no apology, just a path a busy American room can walk. The surprise isn't applause, it's relief. On their faces and his. Interviews used to feel like oral exams to Elena in San Diego. She flips the frame. An interview becomes a useful conversation between two people who both hate wasting time. She prepares stories in English that live on rails: situation, task, action, result, and one human detail to keep them warm. When asked about a challenge, she doesn't perform. She reports. A patient who kept missing meds, the confusion she noticed, the checklist she simplified, the follow-up that worked, and the small smile when the dizziness stopped. Her sentences are shorter than her heart wants them to be, because short sentences survive pressure. When she doesn't catch a question, she buys a second with confidence. That makes sense. Could you say that another way? The interviewer repeats, slower. Elena answers, steady. The grammar isn't perfect, the signal is. In American rooms, signal beats glitter every time. Slides aren't writing on a wall. They're timers that force you to edit. Arav treats his slides like street signs. Big nouns, short verbs, no paragraph blocks to trap his mouth. He puts the real words where they belong, in his voice. Before the meeting, he walks once around the building and says the transitions aloud. From the goal to the risks, from the risks to the decision, from the decision to the ask.
Reduce noise. He doesn't memorize. He rehearses turns. Inside the room, he stands a half step to the side of the screen so he can face faces, not pixels. When a slide looks crowded, he rescues it with a single spoken sentence that declares priority. If you only take one thing from this slide, it's the red box. We need Friday. People stop reading. They look at him. The English he has is enough because the map is simple. Questions are not traps. They're handles the room throws you. Elena catches them the same way every time. Acknowledge, answer, anchor. Great question, she says, because it buys a beat and lowers heat. She answers the piece she's sure about in one clean line. Then she anchors the room back to the path. And that's why I think Friday, not Thursday, still makes sense. If she doesn't know, she says the most American sentence in the world. I don't have that number yet. Let me get it to you by 3. In this culture, a deadline turns ignorance into a plan. Her English gains 10 pounds of credibility in a second. Body and breath do more work than adjectives. Arav plants his feet under his shoulders, lets his elbows rest against his ribs, and uses his hands only to count or to draw a simple shape. The posture keeps his breath from breaking. He slows his first sentence by 10%, just the first one, to let his tongue find the rhythm it practiced on the sidewalk. He allows one friendly smile early and one at the end, not as decoration, but as a signal that the room is safe with him. When a word runs away, he doesn't apologize to it. He goes around it like a runner dodging a pothole. The thing that powers the car, charging station. The room doesn't punish detours that keep the map clear. For remote meetings, the new American Agora, Elena sets the camera at eye level, a lamp behind the laptop, and one sticky note right under the lens with 3 words. Headline, because, next. She opens her mic early once each meeting to hear her own voice in the channel. That 9-second check avoids the "can you hear me" chorus later. If the call glitches, she narrates her fix. "I'm switching to audio only. Keep going." Narration preserves trust. When she screen shares, she pauses her mouth for 1 beat after switching, so the call can catch up, then she speaks. These micro habits aren't tech, they're manners. There will be moments when the room takes your air. A tough face. A joke that misses. A slide that loads and looks wrong. Arav installs a reset sentence inside his chest. Let me say that more simply. It's legal to use it twice in one meeting. He does. Each time, heads nod. Each time, his English tightens like a sail catching wind again. Elena has her own guardrail for nerves. 2 slow exhales through her nose while someone else talks. Then a short headline when it's her turn. Nerves don't vanish, they get something to do. The last piece is the one learners skip. Leaving the room well. In person or on Zoom, Americans remember the last 30 seconds out of proportion to the rest. Arav closes with a crisp handoff. So we're set. Vendor at 2, draft by 5, share out tomorrow. If anything changes, I'll flag it. Elena ends an interview the same way she runs a shift. I appreciate the time. I'm excited about the role. If you need references or writing samples, I can send them tonight. Not dramatic, just complete. Completing is fluency's quiet sibling, the one that makes people want you back in the room. By the end of this chapter, presentations, interviews, and meetings stop feeling like cliffs and start behaving like ramps. Your English doesn't need to be fancy to carry a room, but it needs to be clear.
It needs a skeleton you can trust when your heartbeat gets loud. Headline, 2 stones, bridge. Acknowledge, answer, anchor. Short and sure. You don't conquer the room, you steady it, by steadying yourself first, then giving people sentences they can walk on. In America, a lot of decisions don't happen in rooms, they happen in inboxes. If speaking is your live show, writing is your broadcast. Quiet, replayable, and often forwarded. The goal isn't poetry, it's clarity that travels. Arav used to draft emails like essays, stuffing every detail into one long paragraph that exhausted readers before the second line. Now he builds messages that look like how Americans process information: a clear subject, a one-line headline, short blocks, and a tidy ask that survives skimming on a phone at a red light, passenger seat only. He starts with the subject line. Treat it like a road sign. Update is fog. Vendor check, ETA for Friday shipment, is a lane. Request is vague. Request, 1 extra day, specs pending, lets a manager triage without opening. Inside the email, he leads with a single-sentence headline the way he would in a meeting. Main point, timeline's tight but on track. Then he adds 2 bullets that can live alone if someone forwards the message. Vendor confirms panels by 2 p.m. We'll share the draft brief at 5 p.m. He closes with a clean ask, please confirm Friday pickup by noon. The sign-off is simple and American, thanks, or appreciated. Name on its own line, no flourishes needed. Elena writes in the clinic world, so tone matters. U.S. emails like warm professionalism, human but light. She avoids apologies as decoration, so sorry to bother, repeated 4 times, and uses appreciation plus action instead. Thanks for the quick reply, attaching the labs now. When she must deliver bad news, she gives a headline, impact, next step. Insurance denied pre-auth, patient affected, resubmitting today with note from Dr. Patel. If she made a mistake, she keeps the apology short and useful. You're right. I missed that date. I corrected the file and reattached. American readers value fixes over displays of guilt. Slack, Teams, and DMs are not mini emails. They're hallways. Write like you would talk at the door. Short, kind, specific. Arav stops dropping walls of text in a chat thread. He opens with a handhold. Quick one on the Friday brief. New line, then a single ask. Can you send the hero image by 3? If he's pinging someone busy, he shows empathy up front. Know you're slammed. Can you spare 5 men? Then keeps the promise. He threads related messages so channels don't explode. And if he must add context, he pastes 3 lines, not 30, and offers details in doc if helpful. Texts are even tighter. In the US, a complete thought that respects time wins. Elena texting a classmate, quiz moved to 2:30, can you still make it? Not, hey, and then silence. Not 5 separate bubbles that vibrate a phone like a doorbell. One bubble, one job. If a text might be read out of context, she adds a label. Clinic schedule, I'm covering Friday. When scheduling with strangers, she includes her name right away. Hi, Ilana Garcia from SDSU. Confirming Friday at 9:30. That one line prevents a dozen, who is this, moments. Templates are how you think in English without translating under pressure. Arav keeps a tiny file of evergreen frames that he can paste and customize in seconds. Hi. Appreciate your help. Could we buy because
Hi, checking in on, can you share an update by, if timing's tight, what's realistic? Clarify. Got it. Just to confirm, we're doing A, then B, then C, right? Pushback. I like the direction. One concern, if we, I'm in. Handoff. Recap. I'll buy, you'll buy. If anything changes, I'll flag it. Elena has clinical versions. Plan for today is watch for, call if, thanks for the quick review, updated the chart at 3:10 p.m. Simple phrases that survive handoffs and audits. Formatting is part of language. Americans scan in an F pattern. Top line, then down the left edge. Put the important words where eyes live. Use whitespace like oxygen. Break long blocks. Bold sparingly for anchors. Friday, 3 p.m. Action needed. Avoid all caps. It screams. Emojis are fine in friendly Slack threads. Keep them out of formal emails to new contacts. 1. Happy, to soften a got it, is plenty. When negotiating or escalating, tone carries more than verbs. Arav uses laddered firmness. Level 1. Soft. Could we push to Friday? Vendor slipped? Level 2. Clear. To hit quality, we need Friday. Level 3. Firm and why. We can ship Thursday, but risk defects. My recommendation is Friday. He chooses the lowest level that gets results and only climbs if needed. Americans often respond to recommendations. My recommendation is more than to vague preferences. Receipts save relationships. End threads with a wrap line that the other person could screenshot as proof. We're set. Pick up Fry 10 a.m. I'll text if anything changes. For phone calls, send a 2-line after-call note. Good talking. Recap, you'll email the form. I'll sign by 4. You're not being extra. You're preventing future confusion. LinkedIn messages and cold emails follow a strict diet. 1 screen max, 1 ask only. Elena's version for shadowing. Hi, doctor. I'm Elena. SDSU nursing student focused on cardiology. 2 lines on why this clinic, 1 on her schedule. Then the ask. May I shadow 4 hours per week in October? Happy to follow your requirements. Attach a 1-page resume if requested. Never paste your life story. You're not trying to impress. You're trying to lower the cost of saying yes. Editing turns good English into trusted English. Arav runs a 30-second checklist before sending anything important. 1. Subject says the job. 2. First line equals headline. 3. Dates, numbers correct. 4. Ask visible on phone. 5. Name spelled right. He reads it once out loud, quietly. Your mouth will catch what your eyes forgive. Elena trims filler. Actually. Just. Really. Very. Gone, unless they add tone. She swaps I think for I recommend when she's sure, and I feel for I'm concerned when the issue is fact, not emotion. When something goes wrong in writing, don't send a novel. Send repair and proof. Apologies. Wrong attachment before. Correct file attached. Page 3 shows the updated date. If stakes are high, follow with a quick call. Just sent the fix. Did you get it? Writing plus voice feels like care, and care is a language.
By the end of this chapter, your written English starts to sound like your spoken English on its best day. Short, sure, kind, and easy to act on. People reply faster because you did the work for them. You told them what this is, why it matters, and what to do next. That's fluency most tests don't measure. Not words known, but friction removed. Language carries more than words. It carries habits. If you've ever said something perfectly correct in English and still watched a room go quiet, the problem wasn't grammar, it was gravity. How direct, how warm, how fast, how private people expect you to be. Arav learns this in a Cleveland stand-up when he says, "This plan is wrong," and the table chills. He didn't mean, "You're wrong." He meant, "Let's steer." In the US, criticism travels best wrapped. Start with alignment, place the concern, point to a path. So he tries again the next day. I like the direction. One concern, the images load slow. If we compress first, Friday still works. Same meaning, different weather. People nod. The work moves. Elena meets the opposite problem in San Diego. She's so careful to be kind that her emails sound like clouds, soft, pretty, and hard to sit on. Her preceptor finally says, "Tell me what you recommend." American workplaces prize warm directness, friendly tone, clear ask. So Elena trades, "I think maybe we could," for "my recommendation is blank because blank." She keeps the sentences short and the voice human. "Thanks for looking. Recommend checking hydration first because dizziness persists." Kind and specific becomes her default. Small talk follows its own physics. In the US, it's a welcome mat, not a quiz. The safest topics are weather, weekends, food, local sports, logistics. Avoid surprise deep dives into money, religion, or politics with people you just met. Fun weekend plans is normal. Who did you vote for is not. When someone shares, reflect the last detail and add a small one of your own. You're hiking Saturday? Nice, same here, early before it heats up. You've shown interest and handed them something to catch. Humor is a bridge and a banana peel. Sarcasm can sound like hostility if the relationship is new. Self-jokes are safer than other jokes. "If I drink more coffee, I'll vibrate through the floor," gets a laugh. You people always will not. If a joke lands weird, The most American reset is simple. That came out wrong. What I meant is, and move on. People don't audit your comedy. They watch how fast you repair. Time is culture. Let's meet at 10 usually means 10, not 10:20. If you'll be late, text early. Running 8 min behind, see you at 10:08. It's not formality, it's respect for calendars packed to the edges. Meetings end with next steps, not vibes. Say them out loud. So we're set. A today, B tomorrow. I'll send the file by 5. Politeness looks like choices. When you need help, offer options. Could you approve today, or is tomorrow morning better? When you decline, give a soft reason and an alternative. Can't make lunch Thursday, how about a quick coffee Friday? Boundaries aren't rude here, silence is. A clear no with a path keeps relationships clean. Disagreeing is a team sport. You're not proving you're right, you're helping the group avoid a bad turn. Use framing, from the customer side, from the clinic's perspective. You move the spotlight to the problem, not the person. If a decision is made and you still worry, park it politely. I'm on board, flagging a risk we can watch. You've honored the choice and kept safety lights on.
Compliments are currency. Americans hand out quick positives like receipts, and they expect you to receive them. When someone says, "Nice job on the deck," the correct answer is not, "It was nothing," it's, "Thanks, appreciate it." If you want to return one, keep it specific and small. Your summary saved us time. Praise shouldn't feel like a performance. It should feel like a thank you note that learned to walk. Email tone shifts with distance. First contact, full sentences, names, thanks. Ongoing thread with teammates, shorter, still clear. Don't let warmth disappear completely. One thanks or appreciated per exchange keeps gears smooth. And remember the American allergy to mystery. Subject lines should say the job. Endings should say the plan. Personal space and privacy live in language too. How was your weekend is safe. Why aren't you married is not. If someone asks you a question that crosses your line, you don't owe a speech. Americans use friendly deflection, a smile plus, "Oh, long story," or "Still figuring it out," then pivot. "How's your week looking?" You've respected yourself without making the moment heavy. Finally, identity and accent. You don't need to sound like anyone else to belong. What Americans reward is clarity and kindness. Keep your stress strong, your sentences short when the stakes are high, and your respect visible. On time, on point, and open to other views. When someone mispronounces your name, correct once with a map. It's Elena, Elena. Smile, keep moving. If they get it right later, a single thanks seals it. By the end of this chapter, the same English you already have starts landing better because it rides the rhythms of the room. Warm greeting, clear ask, gentle no, tidy close. You're not changing who you are, you're changing how your meaning arrives, wrapped for this place so it's easy to open. Progress in English doesn't come from avoiding mistakes. It comes from manufacturing them in places that don't cost you reputation, then mining them for upgrades you can use tomorrow. Arav learns this on a gray Cleveland Sunday. He books a 20-minute convo with a community tutor and sets a rule with himself. Aim to miss. Not to be sloppy, but to push his mouth past comfort so the weak boards in the bridge show themselves. He chooses one everyday scene, returning a blender at Target, and speaks it fast enough to wobble. The tutor interrupts kindly, not to scold, but to label. Article missing here, preposition drift there, verb agreement once. Arav doesn't try to fix all three live. He chooses one, the patient has, says it 3 times in new sentences, and puts it in his catch jar to deploy Monday. Public English stays neat because private English is a workshop. Elena builds a loop in San Diego that doesn't need teachers. After each shift, she records a mini debrief in English. Who, problem, action, result. One human detail. She listens once the next morning during coffee and notes one single friction point. Maybe in Friday instead of on Friday. Maybe an article she swallowed. She writes the fix in bold at the top of her notes and uses it once that day. That's the whole loop. Record, review, one fix, reuse. It isn't glamorous, but it compounds like savings. After 2 months, her English hasn't transformed, it's tightened. A quiet click you hear when doors start closing cleanly. Both add a weekly pressure test so calm English doesn't collapse under heat.
Arav picks 5 hard things on Fridays. 1 phone call to a real business, 1 question to a stranger, 1 2-sentence opinion in a meeting, 1 return or exchange at a store, 1 short voicemail with a clear ask. He checks them off like reps at the gym. Nothing heroic, just contact with reality. Elena's clinical version is 2 clarifiers, 1 pushback. Twice, she asks for rephrasing with confidence. Got it. Say that another way. And once she offers a respectful correction. I like the plan. 1 concern is hydration. If we add fluids, I'm in. By pre-committing, she prevents the brain from slipping back to silence. To keep feedback kind, they separate signal from style. If someone says, your accent is strong, that's style. If someone says, I didn't catch the date, that's signal. They fix the signal, slow the date, stress the number, repeat once, and let style evolve at its own pace. They also cultivate friendly judges. 1 coworker each who agrees to ping them if a specific habit appears. End before morning, have after patient. The rule is surgical. 1 habit only. Once a day at most. Quiet thumbs up when it's clean. Accountability works when it's precise. They use mirrors that answer back. For pronunciation and rhythm, Arav does A-B recording. 1 10-second clip of a native voice, news, YouTube. Then his version right after. Same melody, same stress. He doesn't hunt phonetic diagrams. He listens to timing. 2 passes, done. Elena practices A-B writing. She copies 1 crisp sentence from a trusted source. We'll reassess at noon. Then writes 3 of her own with the same bones. We'll review at 2. We'll confirm by 5. We'll start at 9. Structure sticks faster than rules when you imitate shape. Mistakes love to hide in speed, so they rehearse at speed. Arav sets a 90-second timer and explains a simple topic as if a friend is late for a flight. Headline, because, next. If grammar hums but rhythm breaks, he knows where to train. Elena flips it. She explains the same topic too slowly on purpose, exaggerating stress and spacing. An actor's warm-up. Then she brings the pace to normal and keeps the stress. Clarity survives. Alternating fast and slow teaches the mouth that control feels like options. They also schedule forgiveness because guilt ruins streaks. When Arav skips 3 days, he doesn't write a speech to himself. He reads the line at the top of his notes. Back today, one sentence and done. Whispers one headline about his day and counts the system restarted. Alana does the same by texting her sister a single sentence. Headline: I survived the shift. Then a tiny ad, because the team covered breaks. Laughter resets the nervous system better than punishment ever will. Finally, they treat celebration like a tool, not a reward. Each Saturday, they write one receipt of progress. I asked a stranger for directions and understood the answer. I corrected have to has mid-sentence without freezing. I said, let me say that more simply, and the room relaxed. Receipts make progress visible. When Sunday scaries arrive, those lines keep them from rewriting their week as failure. By the end of this chapter, English stops feeling like glass you're afraid to crack and starts feeling like wood you can sand. Scratches don't ruin it, they show you where to work. You aren't chasing a perfect accent or a spotless transcript. You're building a voice that survives errands, hallways, meetings, and Mondays, because you designed mistakes to teach you, and you gave feedback a job it can actually do. Fluency isn't how many words you meet, it's how many words come when you call.
Arav learns this the day he stares at a vocabulary list that looks impressive and behaves like fog. So he swaps study for summon. Every new word must earn 3 things on day 1: a hook, a home, and a human. The hook is a tiny story beat, so the word sticks to emotion. Refund equals the target return where the clerk smiled. Clarify equals Dr. Patel rewriting discharge steps while the patient finally nods. The home is the real scene where the word will live next. Refund at the counter. Clarify on the phone. Follow-up in an email. The human is the person he'll say it to this week. James at the returns desk. Melissa in procurement. Aunt Priya on Friday's voice note. Words without these 3 vanish. With them, they line up at the door when life knocks. Elena builds a 4-touch loop that survives hospital chaos without apps or guilt. Touch 1. Now. Meet the word inside a sentence she cares about. And circle the stress. Reschedule. Appointment. Follow up. Touch 2. Tonight. A 20-second voice memo where she retells a tiny scene using the word once. No definitions, just breath. Touch 3. 2 days later. One practical text or email with the word. Let's reschedule to Friday. Touch 4. 1 week. A 60-second recap to herself that chains 3 of last week's words into one story. Insurance denied. We clarified. We appealed. Short. Real. Done. Her brain stops treating words like strangers and starts treating them like coworkers she sees every shift. Cards can help, but only if they act like prompts to speak. Arav's cards are 3-line files on his phone, each with a single example he genuinely likes. 2. A quick say it now cue. 3. A sibling. For deadline, he keeps "We'll miss Friday without the spec." Q. Say a sentence about this week's real deadline. Sibling. Due date. When the card appears, he talks. Out loud. 1 sentence. Then a second with the sibling. Tap. Speak. Pocket. If he can't think of a sentence in 5 seconds, the word is too fancy for this week and goes back on the bench.
Memory respects ego-free editing. Sticky mistakes get a bright label and a lane. Elena keeps a usual suspects list at the top of notes. On Friday. Not in Friday. At the clinic. Not in clinic. The patient has. Not have. The rule is ruthless kindness. Every day she deploys one suspect correctly on purpose. Nothing else is allowed to matter. For pronunciation, she runs 2-beat drills in traffic. Appointment. Tap tap on the dash. Reschedule. Tap tap tap. Beats beat letters when pressure shows up. When a word refuses to stick, she doesn't push harder, she trades it for a simpler cousin that gets the job done. Change the time. While reschedule grows roots. Progress sounds plain before it sounds pretty. Attention is the currency of memory, so they stop feeding the brain broccoli it hates. Arav builds a playlist called Shadow 30 with only content he'd watch for fun. NBA highlights, cooking shorts, gadget reviews, late-night monologues. Each clip is a target farm. He shadows one line for rhythm, then steals one phrase he'll use today. Here's the thing. From my side, the tricky part is, he doesn't collect. He circulates. By dinner, if the phrase hasn't left his mouth in the wild at least once, he says it to the microwave while the leftovers spin. Cheesy. Maybe. Effective? Absolutely. Names, dates, numbers, the stuff that melts on phone calls, get anchors. Elena says dates with a rhythm that Americans catch. Friday. At 9:30. Stress on Friday. And 9:30. Quick on 30. Phone numbers in 334. 619 555 1286.
She writes a tiny cheat at the top of her notebook before meetings. HBN, headline, because next, and glances once. The letters aren't knowledge, they're permission to keep it simple, which frees memory from juggling flourishes. Both of them make forgetting part of the plan. On Sundays, they run a quick harvest. Open the Notes app, scroll the week, and lift 3 keepers into a page titled Working English. Only 3, never more. That page is the only list they reread. Everything else composts. A month later, Working English reads like the voice they actually use. Short, sure, useful. That voice becomes the one they reach for when meetings speed up and hallways get loud. When life gets messy, the rescue is always the same: minimum dose. Arav's rule is 1 sentence aloud with 1 word he wants to keep. I'll follow up tomorrow because we need approval. Elena's is 1 30-second retell of her day's headline while brushing her teeth. The brain doesn't care that it's small. It cares that it's today. And when tomorrow arrives, the rails are still warm. By the end of this chapter, memory stops feeling like a leaky bucket and starts feeling like a circulation system. Hooks, homes, humans. 4 touches, then into the world. The words you need don't live in notebooks anymore. They live in your mouth, ready to work at the speed of your day. Fluency doesn't mean you never face friction. It means you have language that survives friction without burning bridges. Arav learns this at a Cleveland car rental counter when the agent says, "We don't have your reservation." Old Arav would freeze, apologize, and walk away annoyed. New Arav uses a calm script that Americans recognize as reasonable: appreciation, facts, ask. He takes a breath and says, "I appreciate your help. I booked yesterday at 4 p.m. Confirmation ends in 932. What can we do today to get me on the road?" Appreciation lowers heat, facts prove you're organized, today keeps the solution in the present. If the agent offers something weak,
He climbs one rung, not 10. That's a start. Could we waive the fee or upgrade if my class is out? He isn't angry. He's specific. The agent's shoulders drop. Solutions show up. Conflict at work feels scarier because reputation sits in the room. Elena faces it when a classmate consistently misses pieces of a shared project. She avoids two traps, accusations and essays, and uses the behavior impact request frame native speakers expect. When the notes arrive late, I can't prep for morning rounds. Can you send them by 8 p.m. or tell me by 6 if you can't? Request plus option. No character attacks, no history lesson, just what happened, why it hurts, what fixes it. If the classmate deflects, she repeats the request once, then adds a boundary. If that timing doesn't work, I'll let the lead know, and we'll split the sections differently. In U.S. rooms, boundaries said politely read as responsibility, not rudeness. Returns, refunds, repairs. American life runs on polite negotiation. Arav makes a simple loop his default at customer service counters. One-sentence story, plus ask, plus because, plus option. This blender rattles loudly. I'd like to replace it or get a refund if replacements are out because I tried twice and recorded the noise. The because is your evidence. The option gives the worker a legal path. If policy blocks it, he uses the magic sentence that moves talks forward. What can we do instead? It's an invitation to solve rather than argue. Most people in service want to help. Your job is to aim them.
Emergencies demand fewer words and stronger verbs. Elena builds 3 crisis lines she can say with a steady voice. I need help. Call 911. Please stop. That's unsafe. Move back now. She practices once a month aloud at home, so her mouth doesn't search when adrenaline hits. In the hospital, she has a second set. We need a second set of hands. Check pulse. Start compressions. I'll call the attending. No fillers, no maybe, just assignments. In American emergencies, clarity is kindness in its sharpest form. Apologies are tools, not punishments. Done well, they close loops fast. Arav's email formula is admit plus repair plus prevent. You're right, I missed the date. I corrected the file and reattached. I've added a calendar reminder so it doesn't happen again. No long self-critique, no excuses, just proof. If someone wrongs him and apologizes, he accepts with a sentence that keeps respect but doesn't erase reality. Thanks for fixing it. I appreciate it. Then he watches behavior. Forgiveness here is often practical. Talking about money, raises, rent, or rates is famously awkward, so you script it. Elena practices a short neutral stack for negotiating a scholarship. Headline, evidence, ask. I'm applying for increased aid. My GPA is 3.8. I'm on clinical nights, and I've logged 120 volunteer hours. Is there room to raise my award by $1,500? Numbers, not drama. If the answer is no, she asks the how. What would make me eligible next term? That turns a wall into a path. When feelings are hot, family disagreements, roommate issues, switch to slow English with clear I statements and one actionable request. Arav to a roommate. I'm frustrated about the dishes. I need the sink clear by 9 p.m. on weekdays. Can we try that this week? Then he shuts up. Silence invites a yes or a counteroffer. If he hears blame, he refuses the hook and repeats the request. Calm repetition beats clever debate. Discrimination and boundary crossing require language that is both safe and firm. Elena builds 2 lines she can use anywhere. That comment makes me uncomfortable. Let's keep it professional. And if it continues, I'm stepping away now. In writing, I want to flag language from our call on Tuesday that felt inappropriate to me. Going forward, let's keep our conversations focused on the work. She saves the message. Paper trails protect.
Saying no without burning bridges is a top-tier American skill. Arav uses no, because, yes to something. I can't take that on this week because of the Friday deadline, yes to reviewing slides Monday morning. He isn't defensive, he's scheduling. People trust calendars, they argue with feelings. If someone keeps pushing, he uses a friendly brick. I'm at capacity. In the US, that sentence often ends the tug. Escalating, bringing in a manager, works best when you sound like a problem solver, not a complainer. Elena writes 3 lines. Here's the pattern I'm seeing. 2 facts. Here's the impact. 1 sentence. My request? Could you step in to reset expectations? Facts and impact, then a clear ask. Managers can act on that. They can't act on vibes. Finally, after a hard talk, close cleanly. Arav ends with a receipt. So we're aligned. Notes by 8 p.m. If not, you'll text me by 6. I'll pick up the summary. Elena finishes a complaint call with a case number and a timestamp. Thanks, Sam. Case 4712, filed at 2:17 p.m. I'll expect an email by tomorrow. Receipts turn air into proof, and proof turns stress into control. By the end of this chapter, hard conversations stop feeling like cliffs and start acting like checklists. Appreciation, facts, ask. Behavior, impact, request. Admit, repair, prevent. No, because, yes to something.
You won't win every outcome, but you'll protect your voice and your relationships while you try. And that's fluency grown up. Thanks for watching Whispered Tales. If today's journey, think and speak in English, from silence to fluency, helped you breathe a little easier, please like, subscribe, and share. Drop your favorite phrase or a tiny win from this week in the comments. What worked for you? Next time, we'll bring another deep, practical story you'll love. Until then, speak first, edit later. See you soon.